So I'm just going to log in here. It still supports multiple logins. So if people have accounts with separate applications, with separate organizations, which some of our volunteers do, they can choose at the point of login which organization they're trying to log into at that point. It also supports white labeling, which I'll just talk about later on, which will have the registration process in it. So we're going to click the menu button there, and you can see it's much more similar to the desktop app with the side menu bar there. And a lot of the same things you can see straight away. You'll see that there's a lot more support for all the things they can see on the desktop app. I've got roles in there, the inbox, the message inbox, the hour trades, training expenses, all those sorts of things. So the functional parity is much, much better. The app will still lag sometimes because the desktop is the first place we develop, and then we'll bring it onto the mobile. But we're hoping that lag will be much shorter now because there's a lot less ground to cover. The general look and feel of the app has been updated. It's also identical between Android and Apple now, so there won't be a different experience. And again, they share exactly the same API and code base, so there won't be any differences in functionality either. So they won't drift away from each other. They'll always be the same no matter which device people are using to log into. Just take a quick look at some of the opportunities. So you can see these are named so we know what the requirements are. So we've got one here with a role required. So for those of you that use roles, that's supported on the desktop app, on the mobile app, and the volunteers can apply the same ways they do on the desktop app. The same is true of application first opportunities. That have prerequisites like asking for references, those sorts of things. So I don't think I'm on this one. So again, here we can see it's got an application process. I have to click the apply to join. The expenses are also included. So we've got an expenses up here. So the volunteer can go to their dashboard here and start to claim expenses for. Obviously, you've got to join the opportunity first. If I go back and join this opportunity, flexible opportunity, I think. I think I'm going to log some hours first, don't I? Log some hours, feedback, all the normal stuff that's supported on the desktop you can see here. And the general sort of look and feel of the app's been updated as well, so it looks a lot better than it did before. The search is included just the same as on the desktop. We don't have the advanced search options because of the screen real estate we've got, but they can search within distance criteria, and it's the same Google Places lookup as we get on the desktop app. So they search for postcodes, for areas, for cities, all that, those normal sorts of stuff, or choose any distance. Once they're on an opportunity, again, they can do all the normal sorts of stuff. So you can see here, I've got at the top there, the sessional apply first app, so they can check the status of their applications, they can log hours, and they can also manage the opportunities and join new sessions, leave existing sessions, and all the same rules are in place there. So if you use any rules about things like not allowing volunteers to leave a session after a certain time, or the number of sessions they can join, or the number of sessions across an event they can join, all that is included on the app and is enforced as well. For their dashboard, some of the big improvements, the achievements are there now with their timeline showing what they've done and the ops they're on, and their rank and those sorts of things. We've got the events on the app, which were on there before, which again, just the same as the desktop, shows you which opportunities are on those events. The inbox, which I mentioned before, and this is fully functional as well, so they can reply to messages they've received from the admins and the providers. Just the same again as on the desktop version. We've got our trades, resources, and I mentioned the expenses as well. So I think you get a feel for that functional parity. I think we've hit nearly everything we wanted to. We've got a few small gaps that we're trying to plug in the next week or two. So the resources, where you list documents and links and stuff for volunteers, and also the ID badge area, which is missing, but we will be getting that back within the next week or two. The other big change for the mobile app is their ability to edit their profile in full. So they can add the photo, change the photo, but they've also got access to all the same fields as on the registration page and all the custom fields. So if you've added any custom fields, like you've got one which is date of graduation, a random checkbox which is the same thing. So all these custom fields at the bottom are also supported in their profile. So they get a much fuller experience. That's it for the quick look around. So I'm sure everyone's going to have plenty of questions about what it does and doesn't do. So I'm going to flip back to the other account now. Okay, can you hear me on this account now? Brilliant. Yeah, so if anyone's got any questions in the chat, or you can put thumbs up. I can't see everyone's screen, so do I get to see the thumbs up if I can't see the person on the screen?
So Rosie has a question for you, Rolf.
Hi, Rosie.
Hi. So I just wanted to check if we have the app. We're in the process of implementing TeamKinetic at the moment in Historic Environment Scotland, and we're getting ready to go to switch on. If we've got the app and there's people that don't want to use the app and they just want to use like the desktop, when we switch on, we're planning to purchase the app. Will they just be sort of given an option of both, if that makes sense? Like, I'm just trying to imagine it from the volunteers' perspective. Would, like, if they use the app, can they then only use the app? Or I'm just trying to kind of understand the difference from them.
They can flip between each as they want. What we've done in the past is that when people access the desktop app on a small screen, on a mobile device, we prompt them to say, there is an app available and you can download it here if they want to. That's an option that we can put on or off depending on your requirements. But there's no restriction. They can go in and out at any point. Everything's using the same data, so any updates they make on the mobile app will be immediately visible on the desktop as well. So there's no restriction with people moving back and forth. People don't tend to, unless there's a reason that, if there's something they can't do on the mobile screen, or it doesn't, they don't tend to swap back and forth. But there's nothing to stop them swapping back and forth.
A bit like Facebook, I suppose,
Okay.
Rosie. A bit like Facebook, you've got an app on your phone, but you also log in online into Facebook, and
Okay.
Facebook is exactly the same way.
Yeah. And then I suppose just a bit of a practical question as well, a financial question. So if you've got the enterprise license, and then I think the app was like, what, £800 or something extra, does that just get added into your annual fee every year and just become one, if that makes sense, as opposed to two sort of separate products that we've got to keep an eye on?
No, it just gets rolled up into license. It's just, like we have different versions of the app as well. So there's the advanced and enterprise. It's just a different fee level. I was going to talk about the white labeling after the initial set of questions, because there's nothing really to show, but this is a good segue into it, I suppose. So the white label version of the app that's available that Rosie's talking about here is an extra that you can buy, which means that you get a completely completely unique app on the app stores, on the Google Play Store and the iOS Store, which is all branded up with your name. It's called whatever you want it to be called, and it supports registration at that point. So users can go straight from the app into registration, whatever on board, and things have to go through into using your application, which is a great bonus. We can't do that on the general purpose app because we don't know who they want to register with. So if someone just turns up and downloads the TeamKinetic app, we'd have no idea at that point which application they want to register into. But using the white labeling process, you can create your own app. As I say, it'll be branded with your logos, your basic color schemes and things, and it will support the registration process with all the custom fields at that point. That's what we're currently working on now. We've got a few test cases, test apps to run with, just to check how it works and how the deployment works. But that'll be a great bonus. And if you want to have a unique presence in the App Store and be able to put your volunteers straight to an app that works, that'll be the route for you.
We have a question, Rolf, from Habs at Newham. When will the resource and our trade section be available?
I checked this morning with the developers to see how they're getting on with that section. I didn't get anything back this morning. I was hoping they were going to have it done by today, so we could release it. So I don't imagine it's going to be longer than a week or two. It's quite a simple section. It's just a list currently, so it should take them long.
Sean from Volunteer. I'm guessing it's Sean because he hasn't got his name, but Sean.
No, it's me. Hello.
There we go.
Yeah, good. I just wondered if there's going to be providers can log into the app, because I know some of our providers like to be able to sort of get a list of their volunteers when they're out and about doing their things, or is it just aimed at volunteers in general? It's
only the volunteers, but we are discussing. There's been some changes around portable web apps on iOS. So we were talking about how we can support the providers and the admins on small screens with an app. And one of those routes was a progressive web app. But iOS have just kiboshed that because they're in a big spat with Europe at the minute. And so they pulled support for various things about PWA. So that avenue isn't available anymore. So our next route is the current app is built in React. And we're looking to leverage some of that and look to build an app for the providers and the admins as a separate sort of process. But it hinges on updating what we've currently got for the providers and the admins. So it's a medium long-term project. Sure. It won't be coming anytime soon. But it is on the radar. It's something we're actively looking at because we know providers and the screen as it is now for providers and admins isn't good on a small screen. There's just too much on there.
Yeah.
Okay. So nothing in the short term, but medium to long term, we are looking to support those.
Bryony has mentioned about the ID section. Is that in the same development window as the resource area of?
Yeah, again, because it's not complicated, so it really shouldn't take them long once I can get them on it.
Habs has got a good question. Images on the app look skewed. While this is not the end of the world, with my OCD, it doesn't look fully right. Otherwise, must improve from earlier versions. Is this what?
Yeah, it's a constant problem in that without making people upload different versions of the same image. Obviously, you've got a different container size, and if we use the same aspect ratio as we do on the desktop, you end up with very, very skinny looking sort of pictures. But we'll take a look, and we have tried some various different ways of showing them. So yeah, currently it's a cutout of the image. A centralized version of the image, because if you the same aspect ratio, you end up with a very thin stripe at the top.
Habs, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, and apologies for being so critical about the images and everything. I do have another question, really. The question is, with the number of downloads that you get on the app, would you be able to tell us whether how many people from our profile, our provider, our logins are downloading the apps? So we can see how it's been used by our
not from the downloading, because everyone goes to the same link, but I do log activity on the mobile app, so it's probably something I can do there. So I log the logins on mobile, and also the people that sign up for notifications and things like that on the mobile.
Okay.
So yeah, we can dig into that and find some information.
Yeah, because I think it might be worth us trying to raise awareness to our volunteers and add this as a part of a sort of awareness and training module for people to use and how to use it. So if we know how many people are using it and downloading it, it might be quite helpful for us as well.
Yeah. To be clear, this app is now available in both the Play Store on Android and the Apple Store for iOS. You can go and download it today. This is the standard TeamKinetic app, which you will never be charged for. It will always be available for free as part of any license that we ever sell. So there's no extra cost for the TeamKinetic app. And we will continue to work on that app and improve that app and develop that app over the foreseeable future. We expect to make 2 updates per year on that core app. If you are
the only cost has been my grey hair.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. If you are interested in the white label version of the app, the core difference with the white label version of the app is it will enable you to onboard volunteers directly in the app. As Rolf mentioned earlier, the standard TeamKinetic app doesn't have any registration process available in it because we don't know who the volunteer belongs to. If they come to a general TeamKinetic app, it could be a member of 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of our customers' sites. It's only when we log in, we know where their account already exists, so we can sort of direct them to that account. With the white label version, which is your app, we can take your custom fields, we can take your onboarding journey and reflect that in the app with your branding. So that's the key difference between the standard TeamKinetic app, which you can download as of today, versus the white label version. If you are interested in the white label version, all I need you to do is, Alex, I think he's going to pop me a link into the chat now. You're able to just pop in with the link that Alex is going to share to say you're interested. There we go. Alex has got a form. Perfect. You fill in that form for us. We'll come back to you the next day or two and let you know the approximate turnaround time to get you your white label version ready to go. And there is a little bit of work that we need to do because we need to obviously add your graphics, add your color scheme, add your registration form. So there is some work to set the app up in the first instance in that white label setting. But if you are interested, please do hit that link that Alex has shared in the chat, and we'll get you set up as quickly as we can. I've got a couple more questions coming through.
I just saw, so just on that point before we ask the questions, Chris. For those of you, when you're downloading the app, it's called Volunteer with TeamKinetic. That's what the app's called in the app stores. Volunteer with TeamKinetic.
Again, Alex has put the links in there for everyone, Steve, on the chat. If people do want to download it and have a play around with it.
Smash it. And when if you have your own white label app, then obviously one of the things is what do you want the app to be called? So that's going to be so literally as a separate app that someone searches for using the name of your organization in the app store. Just to clarify on that. And the other thing is, if I know someone asked me this question the other day, if your volunteers are more than one system, if you think about it, when you download the TeamKinetic app, the volunteer puts in their email address and password. We search then the systems to see which system they belong to and log them into that system. If they belong to two systems, then they will see the option appear on the screen. Which one do you want to log into? So just for those of you who are thinking about that. Okay, sorry, Chris, back to you.
Okay, mate. So just checking then with images. This is from Volunteer Glasgow. Do we need to upload 2 images, or can we have the option to? One for the desktop version, one for the app. We often fix images that are squished or blurry.
So yeah, you only have to upload one image, and it's used in both places. I refer back to the initial chat about the fact that it is a different aspect ratio. So we do have to make some concessions about how we show that image. But it's the same image.
And I think it's worth mentioning at this point, if you do download the app or you have the white label version of the app, we've done a lot of testing to try and get this far and make sure this thing is ready to launch. But nothing quite beats the real world when you guys are using it out there in the, in your day-to-day jobs, in your day-to-day lives, your volunteers are in that app. So if you do have feedback, you do have thoughts, you do have things that you find a bit frustrating or annoying or, that are a bit difficult to do, please do let us know. Your feedback is really, really important. This is obviously the first version of this new release, and we are not so arrogant to believe we've got it perfect first time round. So if you do have some interesting feedback or something you want to share with us, let us know. We're very lucky. We've got great customers that tell us when they're happy and when they're not happy. So if there's something we can do to improve it, we'd love to hear from you. I've got another question from Bryony. Does the chat function on each opportunity also come across to the app? I cannot seem to find it. Or do I need to click through to the desktop version? Same with the downloaded documents associated with the opportunity.
Yeah, we've got a few things left to put in. Some things that came along as we were developing the app, so they were never in the original specification. There's another question from Robin about tempo. So yeah, tempo has only just been finalized, so it was never going to be in this version. Chat's in the next sprint as a list that we've been going through with the developers for the next sprint. We've got chat, we've got the ID and screen and things like that. So yeah, we're not at present. I guess it's easy to say at present. There's nothing on the desktop app that we've decided isn't going to be in the mobile app. There's no troublesome features that we just can't put in the app. So everything, we're going to try and get everything in there, but it was just a time constraint.
And the downloadable documents role for an opportunity?
Same thing.
That's in the next sprint as well, yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. Robin, you've answered Robin's question. We ask our volunteers to confirm they can still help. The chat's going too fast, I can't read it. They can still help out a couple of days before the event. Is there a way to do this within the app?
Yeah, I don't. I said in the chat there, Becky. I don't know how you're achieving that now, so I can't answer fully. But they can't. Sorry.
At the minute, for us, it's very admin heavy, just
Yeah.
because we need to know how many volunteers we have on the day. So we actually have to ask them to email us.
Right.
Where we kind of need that to be within the system. So we've got another system that we use for paid staff, where they can just kind of push the button and we check the back end, and it lets us know who's confirmed and who hasn't.
It's not. We don't have that feature, as you know. I think I has come up previously about reconfirming with people. We've always sort of supported a self-serve system, where volunteers sign on to the sessions they can do. So them not turning up is less of an issue than when admins put them onto sessions and they may not be aware or may not catch on that they're on certain dates and things. So in the round, it's a little less problematic with TeamKinetic, but I can see why you'd want that. If you said in the chat, if you open a support ticket and put some of the details in about what you're doing now and how you'd like it to work, and I can look at maybe getting it as a new feature request. But yeah, it's not something we support now, but they can read the messages that you send. So you can both email people and they'll see that in the mobile app.
Is that all right, Becky?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Great stuff. Couple more questions coming through, Rolf. If orgs could see right away how their image may look when they upload it to both desktop and the app, that may be useful.
Yeah, I could see that could be useful. I mean, you get to see the desktop version pretty quickly, how that's going to look when you review the opportunity, and also when you're creating the opportunity. That's pretty much how it looks when you put it into that window. That window has the same aspect ratio as the desktop version, so you see the effect of the desktop straight away. I haven't really ever thought about putting how it would look on the mobile in there, but again, it's not a bad idea. It would just be a slightly different aspect ratio window.
Okay, Brian is keeping you under pressure, Rolf. She's not letting you have a minute's rest. When is the next sprint?
Well, they started doing the initial things on the list. So some of the things like the ID check, the ID screen, and the resource screen were meant to be in this version, but didn't make it because of time constraints. So they're being worked on now. And then the other things we talked about today are in the next sprint. So once they finish doing the things that we were meant to do for today, then we'll start on the next sprint. So it's going to be a week or two before we finish everything that we were meant to get done today, and that's when the next sprint will start. We will probably put in it. We'll take a look again at what we've got in that sprint and put an end date on that at that time, which will probably be around the sort of month to 2 months time span, depending on what ends up in that sprint.
I've got a message from Darby at the Rugby League. Does the app send reminder notifications for upcoming ops, new ops, feedback reminders, messages, etc.?
So the app contains notifications for when sessions are coming and those sorts of things, but it doesn't send any of the notifications about new ops and feedback and reminder messages just yet. We've got the option to do that. The way it works is when someone downloads the app and you'll be aware of this, when you install the app, it checks if you want to receive notifications. And if it says yes, then we get a special sort of code that we can use to send notifications to that device. So potentially in the future, we can start sending notifications about other things that aren't triggered in the app itself. So things like when there's new ops that they've been following that have been created. So all the same sorts of notifications they get now via email. We do have the potential to switch that into the app, but wait to see what the sort of take up is, how many messages have been sent out anyway, those sorts of things, so we don't end up with too many notifications.
Darby, you popped your hand up. Do you want to jump off mute?
Yeah, that was a hand up by accident, but thanks for that, Rolf. I think
Okay.
that's good. And I think maybe some of the notifications about a feedback reminder and that might be unnecessary. So I think the way it's set up now sounds good.
The success skills you'll need. That is probably an opportunity which doesn't have. This is from Alika Larson. That's probably a section which isn't populated in the opportunity, but it's still showing the title. I'll make a note of that because obviously, ideally, you don't want to show that title for that section if that section doesn't have any content.
So Alika's question is, looking at the app under one of the opportunities, the list of sessions, it has a section say skills you need that has other opportunities listed. Can you say how this list is generated? The opportunities seem unrelated. Apologies, I have no microphone or camera.
So I can't tell for sure, but I'll look into it, but I guess that's what the issue is.
And Katie has noticed something, Rolf, that we probably do want to do something about. When she's downloaded the app, it's still called TeamKinetic Test. So we probably want to get that changed sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's the icon name. Is that on the iOS or Android? iPhone, iOS.
Okay. Is there any more questions about the app, about the white labeling, about what to do if you would like your own white label version of the app? What the next steps are for that?
Everything else about the app is the same. So when the login screen would be slightly different because it will just show your logo. But everything between the registration and onwards is the same. So there's no difference. There's no different functionality, and there's not the potential to make your app different in the way it functions. I just want to make sure that we curtail people's expectations. So you can't. It's not like you get your own app that you can do anything you want with and start changing it and change the order of screens and menus and all that sort of stuff. The two primary advantages are that it has a presence in the app stores under your own name and your own information and your own contact details and all that sort of stuff. And you can also register people straight into the app.
Okay. So that is the app, guys. Please download the current version. Have a play around on it. Tell us what you think. We're really interested to know if you like it, if there's things we can improve, if there's things that you don't like. Let us know using the support tickets in your normal desktop application, and share your feedback. Alex, are you okay to bring up the slides? Would that be okay? So I think it's worth at this stage just very quickly telling you a little bit about our next update with TeamKinetic, so you know what's coming. We've got you all here, so we'd just love to share with you 2 or 3 minutes a little bit about our next update. Rolf, what's our estimated date for this next update?
I've just started doing the key things, the major things you see here, about halfway through those. So I think we're looking at this quarter.
Great stuff. Okay. So the big things that are coming in the next update that we want to tell you about is the DBS integration. So if you are an organization that has opportunities that require DBS and you want your volunteers to be DBS checked, then in this next update, you will be able to switch on the ability to do DBS checks within TeamKinetic. The volunteer won't have to leave TeamKinetic to do those checks. They won't have to go into any physical location. They'll be able to do their ID checks digitally. Digitally, yeah, there we go. And it will be fully integrated into TeamKinetic with reminders and renewals all being dealt with through the system. If that is something that sounds of interest to you as an organization, all you need to do is drop me an email, and we can have a chat about that with you and get that established on your account. We're partnering with a third party to achieve this. We're an organization called First Advantage. And what we will do is we'll introduce you to First Advantage and help you establish an account with those guys, which will then let you do the DBS checks through TeamKinetic. That doesn't change the current DBS process in Kinetic, where you can record DBS number, date applied, and those kind of things. But this is a more formalized version of DBS checking that will live within TeamKinetic. The volunteer manager resource area. At TeamKinetic, we felt for a long time that we have a role to play in providing you guys with interesting research, partnerships, and resources. And we've over the years we've added bits of resource and bits of interesting information and partnerships that we've worked with. We've added that into the volunteer manager resource area under the help and support menu. What we're going to do is we're going to take that on a step further. We've already got the peer-to-peer chat. Just through the sheer sort of position we're in, an awful lot of interesting material sort of comes through my email account. So what we're going to try and do is pop that in an area where you guys can download PDFs and documents that are, things like time well spent and the UN's latest report on volunteering, interesting documents that we come across, we're going to pop into this volunteer manager's resource area. If you have interesting documents or useful documents that you think may be beneficial to other volunteer managers, you'll be able to share them with us, and we'll be able to put them in the resource area for other volunteer managers to benefit from. So we're really trying to work on making sure that TeamKinetic plays that role as a really useful resource beyond just managing your volunteers. This is a big one for us, and one that we've been talking about for a little while, is savable smart views. Now, I don't know how many of you use the filtering options in the volunteer search page or the opportunity search page, but there's an awful lot of filters you can use to drill down into your data and build the kind of reports that you need that are useful for yourself. We know that as we've added more and more filters, it gets more and more complicated to rerun these filters time after time. So we're now going to, in the next update, give you the ability to save those filters, those queries. So if you're running the same query every quarter, or you're running the same query every month, you can save that query and run that on a thank you, Abby, and run that query, you know, on a regular basis, whenever you need to. And you don't have to remember the specific filter you saved. You can save that filter under that savable smart view.
Do you want me to show that on the screen?
If you can, Rolf, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah, I'll just share this now. Everyone see the third screen?
Yep.
Okay, so you're all familiar with the sort of filters up here. So here we're searching for anyone who's over 20, or we'll make it 50 to get rid of that first person. So we've got 3 volunteers here. We've got a search up here. It's just this section here that's new. So if you want to save a search, you just hit the save, give it a name. And it appears in your save filters here. So if you go back and refresh that page, just back to the default you're all used to. If I hit anyone over 50, it'll regenerate that search, so you can see the filters change at the top, and we get the results back here. And in the edit screen, you can set the default. So if I set anyone over 50 as the default there, and then I'll refresh this page, and instead of resetting back to the name and email, it'll load your saved query up of over 50 and pull those people up. You can also set the your default for each search page in your profile settings up here, and you've got them here.
We know you guys have a number of sort of needs or desires with what you'd like to do with the data. So if there is reporting that you feel would be beneficial, again, pop a support ticket in, tell us a new feature request, and let us know the kind of reporting that you'd like to see in the product that's not there currently. We think the searchable smart views is going to be really useful to give you the freedom to report what you like, but that's not to say there's not still scope in there for us to improve our reporting options. So do let us know if there is reports that you'd like to see that aren't currently in the system and available right now. Self-certified volunteer hours for ops not in the system. This is one we've been talking about for a few years now, and certainly for our university customers who have volunteers that are doing volunteering outside of TeamKinetic, they've asked for a while a way for volunteers to self-report volunteering that is done that's not necessarily an opportunity in the system. So this idea that a volunteer can come to TeamKinetic and let you know of additional volunteering they may have done outside of their TeamKinetic account. Rolf, do you want to talk a little bit more about how you think that's going to work?
Yeah, so the plan is that volunteers will be able to enter some details about the opportunity that they've done, or the volunteering experience they've had, and enter in some hours and say when they did it. They will stay on the volunteers profile as unverified hours within their achievement timeline. But you also have the chance as an admin to authenticate those hours and add them into your own reporting. So if you say, yeah, I think those hours are valid, you can put them into your own reporting as in just the same way as when you add owed hours to the volunteers. So you'll give it the opportunity to sort of name and give it some hours and verify those hours. So it's up to the admin if they want to start including those hours into their reporting on a case-by-case basis.
Great. we are about to enable email delivery checks, and I know this is something that has been asked for. We get more support tickets about email than probably anything else in the system, where volunteer managers sometimes aren't sure if an email's been received by a volunteer or there's an issue with a volunteer receiving an email. So again, Rolf, if you'd like to sort of talk a little bit about how that's going to work.
Yeah, can people see that screen?
Yep.
Cool. So the way our email works is when you generate a bulk email or an ad hoc email, we process it, make sure it's got all the right logos and layout and all that sort of stuff, and then we send it to Mandrill, which is part of MailChimp, which you might be familiar with. And they're actually responsible for sending the email. So there is a disconnect there, and it's a bit of a black hole. So sometimes emails go to Mandrill and don't get sent for some reason. There's an issue with Mandrill, or there's an issue with the user's email account. It might be the wrong email address, or they've been blocked for some reason because they've reported it as spam in the past, those sorts of things. So the actual delivery, it's not easy to tell if the email's been delivered. So what we've got here on their email log, so it's up to 30 days, and we can get this information for 30 days after the email's sent. And you just hit this check delivery link. It looks for an email of that subject to this person on Mandrill, and up in the top here, it tells you what's happened, if it's been sent, how many times it's been opened, and when it was delivered. So it's just a super quick way of checking if these emails have actually been sent and been delivered by the person, and also whether they've been opened and read. So it's there's a lot of uncertainty sometimes and a lot of worry, and if it happens once that someone doesn't get an email, people often distrust in the future. And they're like, well, did that go? Have they had that email? Usually they don't get the email either because it's gone into a spam folder, so you can check that easily enough and say, well, it was sent and it was received by your end, or they've been blocked on Mandrill for either their email account being unavailable for a certain amount of time, it being full, for instance, or them reporting a spam email message, which means for a period, Mandrill won't send them any more messages. So yeah, it helps you check those sorts of things. I don't really think any of these have got an error message to show you what they look like, but it would tell you at the top of the status, it would say it was not sent or blocked.
Darren has asked the question we knew that was coming, Darren, so thank you for that. Will there be reports available for email delivery checks rather than looking individually?
I did try it before, and it just generated so much traffic and so much storage compared to how much it was being used. It wasn't efficient. It also led to a lot of accounts emails not being sent to accounts because Mandrill was saying that they were blocked, and blocking those accounts and causing quite a lot of confusion for the volunteers, so they weren't getting their emails. So I don't think it's coming anytime soon. Just simply because of the amount of information and the way some emails are sent. They're sent as bulk emails, so sometimes there's 4,000, 5,000, even more sometimes events in one go. And to be useful, you'd have to record all 10,000 for each individual volunteer that's within that bulk email. So yeah, it's just a capacity thing at the minute.
Habs has got a quick question. DBS checks with First Advantage. Is there going to be a cost associated with setting this up? There's no cost, Habs, with setting it up, but there is a cost associated with each DBS check. First Advantage have a management fee, which is about £7.50, and they have a digital ID verification fee if you use the digital service, which is also £7.50. So to do a DBS check, you don't get charged for the DBS check because they're volunteers, so that's actually free. But there's a management fee, and there is a digital ID verification fee for the digital service that we use to do that ID verification. But there is no cost right now to set it up.
If you go the whole whack, if you do the whole thing from the digital check through to DBS, you can get a result back in less than 2 days. Their target is about 24 hours, I think.
Yeah.
But you don't have to do the digital check. You can still do it manually and see the volunteer and check their ID and fill those details in as well in the app. And then just the DBS portion is taken care of by the app. We can do that as well. If you need to, if you don't want to do the digital check, or they don't have a phone, or they're not digitally enabled, those sorts of things, it is still possible to do it that first step manually.
Habs has also asked about the self-search ops and the timeline for this next update. We're thinking Habs in the next, well, it'll happen in this quarter. So, back end, so that's April, I would suggest, Rolf.
Well, I was thinking March, January, February.
Yeah, okay, end of March.
End of March.
Okay. Deactivate volunteers on ops. This is certainly one the last few months we know has become. We spoke to a number of customers who found this something of a challenge. Rolf, do you want to talk a little bit through?
Yeah, I've just started doing this. I don't know if there's much to see yet. If I find an opportunity. So previously on flexible ops, you were able to retire a volunteer, just so you knew that they weren't going to be doing anything more on that flexible option, even though it was going on for quite a while. So what I've done is added this sort of functionality to all the ops. So this is a sessional op, but there in the bulk change, you can see you've got markers finished.
Share your screen.
Oh, I didn't choose which window. Okay, have you got that? You see all that?
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, this is a sectional opportunity. It's not a flexible opportunity, but that functionality has sort of been has been added to, has been combined in all the opportunities and changed slightly. So you can see at the bottom here, you've got markers finished, and then you get a couple of options there to hide from provider and prevent from joining new sessions. So you could take a volunteer off the opportunity, already mark them as finished on that opportunity. They will appear in a separate list at the bottom. I'm just going to update this so you can see what happens. Similarly to the way the flexible system works. So you have a separate table at the bottom, which is people that have left that opportunity. You can either join them back in or you can remove them completely. And you have the option to hide that person from the provider. I'm not entirely sure how it's going to work yet, whether it's just going to hide them visually on the opportunity so the provider doesn't see them, or if it's going to be a deeper integration and it's going to actually hide that volunteer if they're not linked in any other way to the provider. That's not clear yet. Then the second option about not letting them join new sessions. So if you could potentially mark a volunteer as finished on opportunity, and at that point they can't join any new sessions on the opportunity. They can't rejoin that opportunity or restart that opportunity rather, unless you let them. That's where we are with that, the current state of
that. Michelle, are there any plans to have a function for group volunteering so individuals don't have to have an account, just a lead? You can have many volunteers in a group and how many hours the group have contributed. It would be helpful for one of our groups who volunteer. Michelle, this has been an ongoing debate in our office for quite some time. Rolf, do you want to add any thoughts, and Steve, to the group volunteer?
Yeah, we have spoken about it. There are some difficulties. There's a difficulty in expectation of what different organizations want from it. Some people just want it to be very simple and just a person could just tell them how many people are going to turn up at that opportunity, and all the hours just get logged to this one person. So it pretty much works in the same way as everything does now, except you have this separate figure of the number of people you expected to turn up in that group. Some people want it to be more expanded so that there is a group and they all have volunteer accounts, but one person can manage them all and put them all on an opportunity. So we've got issues with specification and how complicated it needs to be. And we've also got difficulties with which sort of permissions and accounts. So we either take a volunteer and give them extra stuff so they can control their group, or we create a sort of cut down provider. And we haven't decided any of these things yet, which is pretty much what the problem is. So we haven't started building anything, but we're fully aware that it would be great to have, and it's a key aspect for some of our customers, especially with corporate volunteering and things like that. So it's definitely in discussion. It's definitely going to arrive, but we're nowhere near getting it released yet because we haven't decided yet what it's going to look like. If anyone's got any ideas about how they want it to work, throw them at me on support tickets for sure, and we'll put them all into the pot.
Yeah, definitely. It's very much on our to-do list. So that, yeah, we'd love to get your thoughts on that. I've had a message from Catherine from Volunteer Centre Sefton. With the deactivate volunteers function, will this be available for providers on the Volunteer Centre version?
Yeah, providers will get the same sort of features, but obviously they won't be able to hide them from themselves. That wouldn't make any sense. But the rest of it would work the same. They'd be able to move into that list at the bottom, so they don't visually get in the way.
Caitlin's asking, will the feature to deactivate a volunteer be available for their applications too? For example, we have many volunteers who apply for role applications and then no longer progress or get back in contact, and they sit on our role application page. Is there an option to be able to clean up the role application page in this instance without necessarily denying the application should they wish to apply again in the future?
Yeah, it's a different function really. I have started building something for that as well, which is really just a cleanup operation. So I'm guessing the reason people don't want to hit deny is the volunteer gets a message which can be quite downheartening. I suppose that you've been denied access to this role, which is a negative sort of action. And all you really want to do is take them off. So yeah, it's just a cleanup role where you just remove the application. So it's as if they never applied. They don't get any notification about it, any negative notification about it. People might have some thoughts about what notification we might want to send to volunteers, which again, stick it in one of the support groups, let me know. But my idea was just to simply remove them from the application list without any formal acceptance denial process.
Plenty of positive feedback. Jamie, that both versions of the group volunteering, he can see both of them being useful for their work at YHA. And the final thing on this list, this list isn't the complete list of everything that's going to be in the next update, by the way. These are the headline things, the big things that we're talking about. And the full WYSIWYG HTML emails everywhere. And I apologize for the technical jargon, but a WYSIWYG, I'm going to pass it over to Rolf. A WYSIWYG, Rolf?
What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get. That's an editor that allows you to add formatting to your email. So you can add different formatting and graphical sort of elements to an email in terms of the way it's going to appear for the recipient. And Rolf kindly put that on the screen now. You can see he's added an image and he's going to add attachments. At the moment, that's the ability to add formatted emails is only available in the bulk email area. And the intention is we're going to pop that feature set everywhere where you're able to send an email from the system. You'll be able to add that kind of formatting and make it, fun and interesting. Right. Well, has anybody got any questions about the elements that are in the next update or anything about the app at this point? Robin, you got your hand up?
Yes, thank you. That last bit there, the what you see is what you get, is that going to be added to like the detail section when you're uploading an opportunity? Because that's quite limited how you format that bit as well.
Question, Robin.
No, that's a completely different issue. So the problem we've got with HTML in opportunity descriptions and pages and things like that is it's prone to error and also malicious intent. So it's hard to, there's something called sanitization. So you can sanitize the HTML to make it a bit safer, but it's difficult to get right. So if you had a provider, for instance, who signed up, and I don't know why they would do this, but they were a malicious actor in some way, they could manipulate that page in order to make things happen to the volunteer. So they could put in script tags, for instance, which would make things happen, steal cookies from the volunteer's machine, that sort of stuff. So that's the primary reason why we keep that simple, that entry. Whereas with email, we don't have to worry about it because it just goes to the person who's meant to get the email, and it appears in an email email application like Outlook or something, which we don't have to worry about anything odd or malicious getting in there because it probably won't have any effect because it's not a web page. So that's the primary reason we don't do it, is the risk with sanitization.
Okay, thank you.
And we may be able to mitigate that in the future, but it's something of an expert field.
Robin, you're not the first person who's asked for this. A few people have asked of late in the last sort of couple of months about this. So it is on our, again, it's on our radar. It's something we are having to think about, but it like Rolf said, it's not straightforward. So it's not something we can commit to lightly, if that makes sense. Deborah, is there a spell check feature when sending out bulk emails?
There isn't. I think there might be a plugin for that editor which has a spell check in it, which I can take a look at. I think I looked at it before. It only had an American dictionary.
Great, thanks ever so much for that.
And formatted emails across the system were brilliant. Will be able to attach multiple. Will we be able to attach multiple attachments?
Yeah, the attachment screen appears at the bottom underneath. Let me just share my screen again so you can see. So you have this sort of box at the bottom, and you just hit Control to attach multiple attachments there. Yeah, you've been able to do that for a while. It's just this section here that's different.
Darby has asked, will a message be sent from TeamKinetic to existing volunteers to let them know about the app? Just want to check so I don't send a double message.
We probably won't send it out to everybody because we'll leave that to the individual organizations if they want to promote it or not. What we will do is contact everyone we can find which have used the old app, asking them to update to the new one. It's not an update procedure. They have to delete the old one and download the new one. We couldn't update the old one because it was too old. So those are the only people we'll be contacting.
Lisa has asked, can we save email templates so we don't have to format each time?
Not on the ad hoc emails. You can with the bulk email because you can save as a draft and then copy it. So if you're on the, again, I can share screen. Should just leave it shared. If you're on the bulk email screen here, so you can lay out some formats here with a picture at the top, you know, text titles, whatever you want, and you can save it as a draft down here, and then in your draft messages, you can edit and save as a copy. So you've got here, you can then send that, and it switches from a draft. But all your sent emails, I haven't got any in here, sorry. But basically, you can copy the email you sent before, so you can keep that template in. Bit of a workaround, but you can do it that way.
Yeah.
Sorry, there are only sent ones in here, so I can't show you what I mean. But if you create an email that's sort of empty and just send it to nobody, then you've got it in your sent files, and you can always duplicate that email and start again with that one.
I think I've covered all the questions. If there is any more, please feel free to pop your hand up or pop them in the chat. We're into the final sort of the second part of the session today, where we're going to talk about the Tempo integration. At this point, I'd like to invite Rachel to come on board and tell us all about Tempo and the wonderful work that they do.
Thank you, Chris, and good morning, everyone. I'm just going to attempt to share screen now, which it probably won't like me trying to do. It says, where is it? When you move from different platforms, I can't. Why? Okay, missed that.
So while Rachel's just sharing her screen, I had a quick question come in from Volunteer Glasgow. Will email sent from the white label app to volunteers and providers be displayed in their inbox as from ourselves or from TK display name? You're on mute, Rolf, if you are talking.
The app itself doesn't send any emails.
So the emails won't change. It'll be it'll still come from the same address it comes from currently.
Yes.
Sorry, Rachel, back.
Yeah, no worries at all. I can't see anyone now because it's only allowing me to see my presentation. So if anybody has any comments throughout or that you want to stop me, just somebody shout at me, because otherwise I won't see any raised hands. So I'm just going to give you a sort of little talk about kind of what the work that Tempo does and the impact that we have through the work that we do, and then also kind of talk to you about some of the partnerships that we have, and also where we're currently working in the UK. So, and I know that we've got some time for a Q&A afterwards, and Brian will join in that session as well. So here we go. So I'm not sure how much any of you know about time credits, but I'm going to assume not a huge amount. So apologies if it's a recap for some of you. So Tempo, some of you may have heard about us in the past. We started our life as Spice back in 2008, working out of the Welsh Valleys, and have grown across Wales and also into England over the last 15 years, working with local authorities, health boards, recovery organisations, large-scale charities, and a whole range of different businesses that we work to develop partnerships with. We rebranded in 2018 because we've been doing quite a considerable amount of work in recovery, and hence the street drug Spice was wreaking its havoc. So we changed our name to Tempo, but still doing the same work and delivering the same impact. But I know some people kind of had thought that Spice had disappeared, but we didn't disappear, we just became Tempo. So it's good to kind of remind people that that's where we started and who we've become. So for us, time credits is about supporting new and different people onto that volunteering journey, and really supporting those pathways into volunteering, but also to recognise and value the contributions that amazing people give to our communities every day. So using time credits to recognise that time and those skills. So it's a very simple model. We use time credits to recognise that time that people give. So people receive a time credit that they're then able to redeem at one of the partners that we have across the programme areas that we work. So from a sort of swim at the local leisure centre, to watching a film at the theatre, to having an opportunity to kind of go and visit the Tower of London or a trip down the Thames. There's a whole range of different experiences, and for us what's really important is building both a local recognition network, so having things where people live and that they can access on a weekly basis, but also creating those national opportunities where people have new experiences and opportunities that they perhaps wouldn't normally ever experience. And so we see people kind of moving around with their time credits as well. So you may have earned your time credits in Swansea, for example, but actually you've been to Cornwall to spend your time credits at the Cornwall Seal Sanctuary. So we see lots of people moving, and lots of sort of time credit tourism, as we like to refer to it, seeing people trying new things. Just moving us on. So in October of last year, we launched our annual survey, and 1,500 volunteers had taken part in that impact survey last year. And it gave us a real kind of insight into the impact that time credits is having on both people who receive time credits, but also on the organisations that we work with. We currently work with over 1,300 charities and community groups across the programme areas. I'll talk to you a little bit more about where they are in a moment. But also we've worked with over 750 business partners. So they're the things and opportunities and experiences that people redeem their time credits against. And they're really, really varied and vast. What's really important for us is that there's something for everyone. So whether it's an education opportunity or an activity that's going to build somebody's confidence and self-esteem, having, or an activity that improves somebody's health and well-being, having that really diverse network that appeals to everyone is really important. And we build those networks very much in collaboration and co-production with the volunteers that are receiving time credits. So we do lots of work with the people and the beneficiaries that receive time credits to actually really understand where is it that they would like to use their time credits. Because actually, if we've been commissioned to develop a program that's around creating resilient communities for people as they age, or we're commissioned to work in schools, that recognition network might be very different. So it's really important to talk to people and learn more about where they'd like to use time credits. So we currently have over 15,000 volunteers registered on our platform. We used to be a paper-based time credit system, and in 2020 we became a digital time credit program. So we now only issue digital time credits. So it's really exciting now to be collaborating with TeamKinetic to bring time credits to more and more people across the UK. So I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on this slide. I'm sure you've picked up some of the key points there. So where we work, so we currently have programmes right across Wales. We work in Wales, we're funded by Welsh Government, and we work in all 22 local authority areas. We've got long established programmes in Lancashire, Chorley, Cambridgeshire and London. We've worked in those areas for over 10 years, commissioned by a whole range of different commissioners in those areas. In London, we work across a number of the London boroughs. So we're not in every London borough, but we have a recognition network that covers a big part of London. We also work in Medway and Swale in Kent, in Cornwall and in Birmingham. So all of those programs have different themes because of how we've been commissioned. We use time credits in a number of different ways. And one of the key pieces of work that we do in those commissioned areas is using time credits as a tool for community engagement, and volunteering then falls out of that work. So in those areas, we're commissioned to build networks that deliver against a set of outcomes. But we also then work with organisations that use time credits to reward and recognise their volunteers. So some of the impact that time credits have on the organisations and charities that we work with. So in our survey last year, 100 organisations told us that that time credits made a difference to both their volunteers, but also to the organisations themselves. It was really helping to increase their volunteer diversity. 40% of the people that receive time credits for their time are new to volunteering or have only ever seldomly volunteered in the past. So it really supports those new and different volunteers to start that journey and get involved. But also, increasing the health and well-being of volunteers and the skills and capabilities of volunteers as well. But more importantly, also improving that volunteer retention and keeping people on board. We know that keeping our volunteers with us is really, really important, and valuing their time and their knowledge is a key part of volunteer retention. So that's something that we see as a result of that. Also, kind of on the other side, you can see the word cloud there of the types of activities and organisations that we work with. So the great thing about time credits is that they're a really flexible tool. So they can be used in lots and lots of different contexts. So we support and work with a wide range of themes that, and organisations delivering against a whole range of different priorities in the areas that we work. So, chat to us if you want to find out more about how time credits might work for your organisations. So just thinking about our recognition partners, as we refer to them. So they are the venues and the organisations and the experiences that people can redeem their time credits against. And again, very, very vast, lots of different types of organisations, from, visiting a castle to taking children to soft play, to watching a show at the theatre, to visiting a National Trust venue. In Cornwall, we've also brought on Cornwall buses, so you can use your time credits to to purchase a day ticket, which enables you to travel around Cornwall. And we have lots and lots of rugby fans across our network. So actually being able to use your time credits to go and watch your favourite team is also really well received across our networks. So that sort of network of partners is really important. We're always bringing on new partnerships, both locally and nationally, as I said. We also have a number of online offers. So the White Rose Maths offer is actually a resource to help children with their maths education, and parents are able to purchase access to those resources with their time credits. And that was hugely popular during the pandemic. You might imagine when, you know, many parents had to become home teachers, and that was a great resource that was available to people. So building that recognition network across the UK is a key part of the work that we do, and again in ensuring that there's something for everybody. So what do people tell us that receive time credits and the difference that they make to them? So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking to you about the impact that time credits have on individuals that receive them, and again, some of the sort of words that came out from our impact report about the difference that time credits and those experiences make for the people that receive them. So, you know, making new friends, addressing loneliness and isolation, you know, building people's hope and resilience. I know in our Welsh Government funded programme, that's a key part of the funding that we receive from Welsh Government around, you know, people being able to afford to do more as a result of receiving time credits, and building that sense of resilience and hope, which is especially important during kind of economic crises that we're constantly going through. So it's really important to people. So just moving forward. So I talked a little bit or mentioned briefly the pathways to volunteering that we work to create. So we often work to engage people who have never volunteered before, who are often quite far from that volunteering journey. And we do lots and lots of work with services to support them to engage, often with their service users, to take them on that journey towards volunteering. So this is a story about someone who you know, had moved to a new area, kind of, you know, became quite lonely and isolated, didn't know anyone around there, and as her son went to school, she was feeling more lost and lonely without him. But actually seeing a poster to join a local litter picking group on the estate that she lived meant that she could go and have a taster of getting involved, and go and went along and helped out. She received 2 time credits for her time, but also alongside that met some of her community, so met neighbours and got to know some people that lived on the local estate to her. She started using her time credits then to take her son swimming at the local leisure centre with one of the mums that she'd met through the litter picking group. That step for Sam of trying something new, and meeting new people, and receiving the time credits and getting out and doing something with her little boy that actually she'd not been able to afford to do without the time credits, actually began to build her confidence. And she's now more regularly volunteering in her community, because she'd had such a positive experience, and she now continues to earn time credits that she is using to take her son swimming on a regular basis. So you kind of can see the sort of journey that somebody goes on, that's a very, very local volunteering opportunity, very much where she lived, and that supported her to begin to give her time on a more regular basis, and the impact that time credits had on them, being able to do something in their own free time. So just looking at more around impact and specific impact. So from our survey in October, we learned that 65% of people had learned new skills. 18% of people had got into employment as a result of volunteering and receiving time credits. 70% of people had shared their skills with others. We build networks in the areas that we work, and key for us in those networks is looking for opportunities to collaborate and work together, and we use the time credits as the glue that sort of joins all the activities together. So we have community groups sharing resources, sharing ideas, sharing volunteer skills sometimes as well, but really looking at how we work together to benefit the community, and building the people's skills within that is a key part of that. But also people reporting that they've had less need to use social care services as a result of being involved as well. And I've mentioned health and well-being. 33% of people reporting that they have less need to see their GP, but also, significant impacts on people's mental health, physical health, feeling healthier overall, and feeling better able to manage their own health and well-being. That the quote there from the lady who cares for her mum with vascular dementia. Time credits giving her that time out to build her resilience, is key. And going for that swim, once a week, just enables her to kind of carry on in that carer role. So, if we're thinking about how we retain our volunteers, many of our volunteers have lives, outside of their volunteering and pressures. So being able to give them be really valuing their time and recognizing the time that they give, and enabling them to have a choice to be able to go and spend some quality time during their free time, even when that free time is very, very limited, can have a huge impact on their health, their well-being, and their sort of future outlook, because that's also something that we explore. So 57% of people told us that they feel more positive about the future, and feeling more confident. But as I said, 40% of people can afford to do more things. So we see people trying new experiences, new opportunities. We know that there's poverty of aspiration in our communities, and actually time credits open the doors to those new opportunities that people otherwise would never access. If I could have £1 for every time that somebody has said to me, "Oh, people like me don't do that," and suddenly people like them do it because they've received time credits, and they try those new experiences and new opportunities that they've never tried before, and that has a huge impact on them. So, and then finally looking at, supporting others and the wider community. So we use, as I said, we use time credits to build communities as well. So really looking at how people contribute to their community, and feel more connected in their community. So really, looking at how we work a lot within peer-to-peer support services. We use time credits in the social prescribing context, and there's many different ways that we use time credits to engage people in their communities and to support them on that journey. So and very much around that, the co-production of services and the co-design of services, so really getting people involved. We know that our communities are often our experts, so we use time credits to really engage people in how our communities should look and should grow and develop. So for us, looking into the future, we're really, really keen to continue to work with as many people as possible to create more pathways for everyone to be able to volunteer, looking at, how we work with a whole range of services and community groups to facilitate that. We're very keen to work with more organisations across the UK to be able to issue time credits as a thank you for our volunteers' time. And alongside that, we'll be building on our national network of recognition partners, so it enables us to work in new areas, but also working closely with commissioners to develop new projects and really look at how time credits can support new and different people to get involved with. We're currently talking to the Heritage Lottery around how time credits can be used to support the diversity of the volunteer base across heritage. So really looking at how we test the sort of boundaries of time credits and work with more people. So we're really keen to be here to talk to you today. And I'm going to try and come back into the room now. Ooh.
Thank you, Rachel. I think from a TeamKinetic standpoint, we're really proud of the integration that we set up with Tempo. And fundamentally, from day one, when we first created our very first version of TeamKinetic, we had this idea about being able to reward and recognise our volunteers. And we appreciate the importance of acknowledging the amazing work your volunteers do. And it's always felt to me, for all the years we've been doing it, that having some kind of external offer that really sort of speaks to what volunteers are interested in and what they want was something that we wish we could have done ourselves. And then we discovered the work that Rachel was doing at Tempo, and it was like, oh, this is brilliant. So we were really excited to be able to see where we could link TeamKinetic to Tempo to create a really simple way for volunteers to be rewarded and recognised for the amazing work they do. I'm going to pass over to Rolf, and he's going to very quickly show you how this integration looks within TeamKinetic, how straightforward it is. That's the fundamental thing. It's very, very easy the way we've created this, that volunteers can claim those credits within TeamKinetic for the hours they do, and then exchange them for the amazing offers that Tempo have available.
Am I off mute? Yeah, great. Okay, so on the admin side, it's super simple. You just decide the relative ratio of hours to credits you want to give out to people, and there's a maximum per month or per whichever time period you choose, like a week, a month, or whatever. So if a person logs 30 hours in a month, they can get a maximum of 5 Tempo time credits for those hours, and you decide those figures and those limits. And then all you need to do is mark any opportunities that are valid to get Tempo credits when you create an opportunity, and those are the hours we use to calculate how many Tempo credits they've got. So super easy as an admin, just a few decisions at the start and not much to think about afterwards. In terms of the volunteers, if we don't have an associated Tempo account for that volunteer, this is a screen they'll see the first time when they go into the Tempo credits tab, which is just asking them to sign up. It's a dead simple process. They hit the sign up key. There's a few fields to fill out on the Tempo side here, very limited, just five, 6 fields. Sign up, and then they get bounced back to TeamKinetic after that. And from that point on, they're linked. So they have a TeamKinetic account, and they also have a Tempo account, and we know which accounts both of them are. We can link them together. From that point on, they'll see this. This is HAD screen. I'm sure you won't mind me sharing a little photo there. Once they're connected to Tempo, then they can start exchanging their hours. And this is the screen they'll see after they've connected their account to Tempo. It tells them how many credits they've claimed with Tempo, how many credits they've got left to claim, and what their current balance is in Tempo. So here they haven't used any of those hours. And it also gives them a quick screenshot, a quick insight into the sorts of things they can swap their vouchers for. So these are all the current Tempo offers that are available in their area. So Tempo controls which offers are available to the volunteers. So they don't see things here that they can't claim. And they can follow any of these links and go to Tempo. So the actual process of exchanging vouchers, exchanging Tempo credits for the vouchers and the experiences and stuff occurs on the Tempo site. That's nothing to do with TeamKinetic. That doesn't happen inside the TeamKinetic app. What does happen is the earning of those credits and the claiming of the credits. So they can claim these credits from the TeamKinetic app and have their Tempo credit balance nudged up by, in this case, it would be an extra 7 credits would end on their Tempo balance. But it's important to remember that the actual exchange and any issues they've got with the exchange and the vouchers and using the vouchers, that all goes on the Tempo side, and they can use their Tempo account for that.
Just to quickly,
yep.
Tracy's got a hand up for a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's all there is to it. It's super simple. They don't have to do anything extra. They just carry on logging their hours as normal. It is the provider hours that count, so that the admin and provider verified hours that count, not the volunteer hours. So they do have to be checked by the admin first.
Tracy, do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Well, yeah, we got you.
I think it's absolutely fantastic that Tempo is linking in with TeamKinetic. However, my question is Scottish related. I've previously run time bank schemes, and particularly youth time bank schemes, and we did operate in an exchange of credits for education or kind of money can't buy experiences. So I do value all of that. However, I'm thinking, I mean, it would be fantastic. Is there any thoughts going into how this can widen out into Scotland? I mean, is there options if, I'm just thinking if I'm out talking to organisations and providers, I'm thinking particularly within Stirling, the kind of leisure centres and things like that, that I could then start to sell this, if you like, and say, well, look, if you're interested in offering time credit rewards, you can register as a provider through this means. And if so, how would you do that?
I'm jumping in. Thank you, Tracy. It would be really good to pick this conversation up on offline as well. We've already been talking to colleagues of yours in Scotland, in other parts of Scotland, but we're really keen to grow into Scotland, and we've been doing some thinking about that. So it'd be really good to join you to that conversation and really think about what that looks like. But we're super keen, and part of that then would be, you know, you've got boots on the ground and you've got relationships, and how do we work through those relationships? So if you're okay, it'd be good to share contacts and we can pick that up as a separate conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely like to be involved in it, obviously, because I do have past experience in that as well.
Yeah,
so
that'd be really helpful. Thank you. Fab.
I've got a question as well from Bryony.
Yeah.
It can account for legacy hours. Again, that's one of the decisions you'll have to make at the start. We can either set a date and to say only hours after this date, or as soon as you go in and decide to use Tempo, you can give those credits for all those previous hours. Depends how many legacy hours you've got, I suppose.
Sean, you've got your hand up.
Hello, yeah, I've got a couple of questions. The first one is, I know that we don't have a Team Tempo in Northamptonshire, but would the national awards rewards still be available to our volunteers?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we have people that receive time credits, say, as I said, in Swansea, that use them elsewhere. So yeah, absolutely. You don't just have to use time credits in the area that you live. You can use them nationally.
That's great. And one more follow-up question for TeamKinetic. We've got our own little time credit scheme that we do with our smaller organisations in the county. Is the system going to be able to host both of those time credits and the Team Tempo time credits?
Unfortunately not, no.
Well, you can use the hour, Sean, you can use the hour trade vouchers still for your own offer.
Yeah.
So you can still use the hour trade vouchers, but it wouldn't be done in the same way as the Tempo time credits, which is a more formalised process.
That's fine, but the two can sort of coexist at the same time, and you can use those hours with one or the other.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, Tempo doesn't exclude the hour credits. They're hour trades.
Lovely. Sorry, I'll get my wording mixed up there. That's great. Thanks for that. Cheers.
Volunteer Glasgow, I've got a great question for you, Rachel. We're keen to introduce time credits, but we need to assure decision makers in Glasgow about DWP and HMRC and the implications of time credits.
Yeah, so we've been updating our guidance and we'll be sharing that shortly. But yeah, we'll pick those conversations up again with Volunteer Glasgow.
Very, very briefly, do you want to just explain to people the sort of the high level situation with regards to time credits in terms of people?
So time credits are seen as gifts, so they don't have an impact on people's benefits and tax implications. So it's a time-based system, so they never have a financial value. They only ever have a time value, and because the sort of the rewards are gifted to Tempo to then gift to volunteers, there's no implications on people's tax and benefits.
Fantastic. Does anybody have any further questions about anything we've talked about today? Time credits or the app or about any of the updates. Is there anything anybody would like to ask or no? Well, I think that's brought us to the end of today's session. Rachel, thank you for coming along and sharing some information about Tempo. Thank you, everybody who's been here and given us your time this morning. We really appreciate it. I'm glad you've all stuck with us, waiting for this app to land. We will be following up with some emails with some next steps. If you're interested in the white label app, if you're interested in signing up for Tempo, please have a read of that email. It'll have the links in to be able to book time with myself and Rachel. I'll have some links in there if you want to do the white label app. We love to hear back from you guys on any of these things. So we've got a few people asking about some of the benefits and whatnot. So please do let us know what you think of this stuff. Please let us know if there's other things you'd like us to do. We hope you like the app. We hope you like the Tempo integration. And we hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks a lot for your time, and see you all soon.